I know most of you probably know Joe Trizila as a Cultural Affairs Commissioner, but I have known Joe Trizila for so many years, I can't even remember how many years, because she started out working at Shakespeare Dallas many, many years ago, and when they were still at the Salmon Center, and has worked in the arts in a number of jobs since then. She was at the Irving Arts Center for a long time, so she knows us, and knows all our challenges and issues. She knows that we're always under-resourced, understaffed, and overburdened. So she knows all those things about us. So has it been 11 years now that you've had your own PR company, Trizcom?
No, we're coming up on 14.
14, wow. So she started her own business 14 years ago and very successful in the PR industry, and has specialized in social media particularly. So I am very happy that Joe could join us today and help us all learn how to Zoom better. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Joe.
All right, great. And will you give me screen share capabilities?
You have them already.
I do. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Well, like Joanna said, I am Joe Trizila, and I need to hide. We're going to talk about this, but hiding your face when you're talking. But I've been involved in the arts ever since I can remember. Undergrad and grad are in theater performance. And I quickly realized after I graduated that I had absolutely zero talent. And the schools just wanted my money, I think. And so I went into public relations and marketing and worked for Shakespeare, then worked for the Irving Arts Center, and then the Dallas Chamber, and then Trizcom. And I always like to say PR is very similar to theater. We're just telling stories to a different audience every day. And it's paid a lot. It's been very, very, very beneficial, that theater training. And plus get to work with a lot of divas still. I thought when I got out of the arts, I would be away from divas, but entrepreneurs and CEOs are some of the biggest divas I think I've ever met. So, and then everything's going great. We have a wide range of partners. We don't have clients, we have partners. Everything from nonprofit all the way up to Fortune 500. We're working now with an air purification company that just crossed the $1 billion mark as a company. And so we get a little bit of everything, but I like working with the nonprofits because that's what I know. I had never worked for a for-profit company until I started mine. You talk about the blind leading the blind. Had no idea what I was doing and figured it out fairly quickly, and still there are some things that I still don't know what I'm doing. And my staff thinks it's absolutely hysterical that I'm doing a Zoom technology talk today because I don't know anything. So if I can figure it out, anybody can. And what's so interesting is after COVID started and the lockdown, we really didn't know what was going to happen. And especially with public relations and media relations and with everything being closed, how are we going to still remain relevant? How are we going to engage? And ironic enough, I always use the arts as the benchmark, because the arts are the one who really adapted the quickest and really embraced Zoom and Facebook Live and all the ways to engage with their audiences. And I've got to give you guys big, big kudos. You did it much faster than corporate America. And you take a look at the size of your organizations versus the size of corporate America, and it's laughable. But you guys were able to, and I hate this word, but pivot very, very quickly and still make sure that you were relevant. Where we have really experienced the benefit of Zoom is we still need to produce TV interviews, and we still need to have conversations, face-to-face conversation with reporters. And so we have adapted very quickly by going onto Zoom. In fact, we just did a Today Show interview via Zoom. And so you pick up little tidbits, and what I'm going to talk to you today is really not rocket science. I'm a firm believer in utilizing other people's expertise, because I had to learn just like you guys had to learn. And everything from, you don't want to be down here and people don't want to look at your nose. And then people don't want kids running in and out, although sometimes it's unavoidable. Dogs barking, lawnmowers going, you know, there's things that are out of our control sometimes, and we're just adapting to it. But if we can try to find quiet spaces. One side story, I was doing an interview for, I think it was WFAA, I can't remember. No, sorry. It was for KRLD. And the lawnmowers were going off out front, and my lawn people have lawnmowers in front and in back. And there was absolutely no silence in the house. And I took the interview in my closet just so I could get something quiet. And my 10-year-old came in and was like, "What are you doing? Are you drinking wine, mommy? What?" And I was like, no, I'm doing an interview. But you just get really creative, which is something you guys aren't short of. So I thought how I'd structure this is just going over the basics again, because I always like to be refreshed on some of the things that you do and don't. And I will send this presentation to you guys afterwards, because it does have all kinds of hyperlinks within it that are useful to go back, and you can see if you don't know something, then you can figure something, you can learn more. And if it's a repeat, then you can skip over that. But I'm not going to spend too much time on the basics, because most of us have used Zoom enough that we've figured it out. What I do want to do is spend some time at the end talking about different ways that we have all utilized Zoom and Facebook Live and all the Microsoft, all the technology that's available to us, because I do think there's some opportunity to learn from one another, number one. But number two is, how do we make what we're doing better? You know, for example, and we'll get into more detail about this when we get into it, but for example, I've seen lots of fundraisers on Zoom and on Facebook that are great fundraisers, but there is no call to action and there is no specific landing page for them to go to. There's ways that we can make this better so that when you do attract new people, you can show them more about your organization. And I will say that's probably the biggest benefit. I heard some stats recently about Earth Day and how Earth Day had to go virtual pretty much at the last minute. It was pretty last minute. And how they had their biggest audience ever worldwide. Because they could open it up to Zoom. When we have a performance, we're locked into the four walls that can hold us. When you go virtual, it's endless. And so think about those opportunities. Once we get somebody engaged into our organization, how do we expand upon that? And how do we convert them over to a donor to help us? I've been shouting loud, because I think the arts are one of the biggest industries that have been hurt the hardest. And I think there's some opportunity there. All right, so without further ado, I am going to share my screen. All right, can everybody see Zoom on there? Nod your head if you can see it.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm doing it right. Okay. As I said, my team thinks it's absolutely hysterical that I'm doing this interview. So here we go. So when we're talking about Zoom, we're going to go over the basics and just a refresher, like I had said. So dress appropriately. This cracks me up. You can't see it here, shucks, but you can see just a little bit of this guy right here, but he was in shorts. And the camera came down just a little bit too far. And when you get this presentation, you can click on this and actually see the interview, because it's quite funny. But we've all seen these. And when you're talking to a group, I always feel more confident when I am dressed appropriately. Stage or video. Look at this. I kid you not. We represent one company where they have a bunch of multi-level marketing. They have about 2,000 multi-level marketing. And I would say probably the average age of this person is probably 70. And they have adapted to technology. I've got to give them credit. But there is this one guy who does all of these videos, and this is what his office looks like. and he puts them on YouTube. So it makes it even more viral. And you just sit around and go, dude, that is not how we want to represent our brand. Please, please take these down. But stage your video. We know enough now that you can hide your stuff. I have lots of boxes all over my house where I've just quickly have gathered stuff, or you can do virtual backgrounds and whatnot. Lighting. I'm not going to talk too much about lighting. It's, you want to be front lit. You guys know this. But I wanted to pay special attention to this woman, Gia Goodrich. I have learned so much from her. She's a photographer, and her videos are so well made. She doesn't talk above you. She talks to you and gives you lots and lots of great examples and takes you and shows you exactly what she's meaning. So like I said, there's going to be lots of links through here. Don't bother writing them down. I will send this to you. Your camera. So I put this picture of a camera. You can't really see it, unfortunately, but it is actually taped to my monitor because I was doing a Channel 5 interview where they were, Channel 4, Sean Rabb was interviewing me, and the camera, we needed the camera to be at eye level. And so the only way I could do it is to tape it to the monitor. And my team thought it was very, very funny. But thanks to my Shakespeare days, I learned how to be resourceful. And I would also recommend here on the camera, go ahead and invest in an external camera. Don't use the one that's on your laptop. They're like 15 bucks. They're not expensive. I got this one on eBay. I think it came from overseas, but it has a built-in microphone, and we're going to talk about microphones in a minute, but the quality is much, much better than the one that is on your laptop. Same thing goes for microphones. This is the exact microphone that I have, $15.99. Microphones make all the difference in the world. The way the microphone works is it's going to soundproof a lot of the external noise because you're talking directly into it, very similar to if you use a microphone on stage. I can't recommend this. If you're not going to buy anything, buy a microphone. Oh, and one side note on microphones. If you don't have a microphone available, use your headset for your iPhone. That works just as well. It's not very attractive on TV, seeing the cords come down, but it's better than nothing. And that way people can hear you. Zoom meetings for live music events. So I did a bunch of research on this. I was talking to Joanna, and she said that some people were having issues with the live music. I am not an expert at this. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. I'm learning as we go. But I found this very good resource right here. And again, it's hyperlinked, and there's a link here. And he talks you through exactly how to do it. And I think the key is to get Zoom Pro if you're going to do live music events. Zoom Pro and have microphones. That's the key right there. But you guys can read more into that, and he's got a couple of videos on there as well. Your eyes and where you look. Always look at the camera. Don't look down, don't look to the side, have the camera right in the center, and you can see the difference right there of how drastically it appears. We had a partner do a CNBC story a couple weeks ago, and it was horrific, absolutely horrific, because it was done over Zoom, and he was constantly looking down at his notes, and it made him look not confident and not an expert. And what he was talking about something very scientific, and we needed him to be considered an expert, and he didn't come across just because of his body language and the way he was looking. This is sharing your screen and audio. I don't know if you've ever tried to show a video on Zoom, but there is actually some mechanisms in the back end that you can go into Zoom and make sure that when you share a video, that the audience is actually hearing directly from the computer, not from your microphone. In this video, it's 1 minute, tells you step by step, much better than I could ever begin to tell you how to do it. And that way, when you share videos, you can see, your audience can hear it. One thing that I talked to a couple of performers that have done quite a bit of Zoom, and I was like, how do you make the sound quality? And they said it's much better if you record it and then air it than if you do a live performance. And the sound quality seems to be a little bit better. So that's just what I have heard. But this video right here is the best. It's 1 minute and it will take you exactly how to share your audio. Then I think the second best people who have adapted to Zoom are teachers. And this is, I didn't even know you could do this until a couple weeks ago, but you can split share your screen so that you can still engage with the participants, because right now you guys can't see me, all you're seeing is my screen. So you can split share the screen and then show your presentation on the side as well. I thought this would be really, really helpful for board meetings when you're having to share an agenda, is that you could have your agenda on one side and then your board members could still see you. We use this a lot now when we're doing new partner proposals and presentations. And again, this teacher can teach you how to do it much faster than I could. Now, one of my staff members had said, well, why don't you just do it while you're on the Zoom call? And I'm like, guys, I am almost 50 years old. I was born 10 years too late to understand this. I move everything half pace. It's much better for you guys to go back and be able to watch these videos. Okay. And now technical difficulties. Let's see if I can. Hang tight. My computer just froze for some reason. Here it goes. Okay. Okay, breakouts. I've been to a couple Zoom meetings where we've all started as a very, very large group, and then we've been able to break out into separate smaller groups and have conversations. In fact, I actually recommended this when we have our next cultural affairs powwow. Where we're going to be talking about specific areas of the cultural plan, and we can all break out into smaller groups and then come back together as one big group without having to log on, log off, and the host can control it. Again, this gentleman who would probably die if he knew I took his screenshot with his eyes closed, but he teaches you step by step how to do it. And if I always use the litmus test that if I can figure out something from a video, anybody can. So I think this is one of the best videos on how to use breakouts. This one is the chat feature. There are tons and tons and tons of YouTube videos on cool things you can do with chats. We all know that when we have a large group, the best way to get Q&As done is through the chat feature. If you have smaller groups, a fun thing that I learned recently was if you're trying to do a survey, how many people like cream in their coffee? Dumb question, but let's just pretend that's our question. How many people like cream in their coffee? Well, you have one or two people say, I like it, I don't like it, I like it, I don't like it. And then others could be impacted by other people's opinion and may not want to share their true opinion. Well, if it's a yes or no or an A or B question, what this one facilitator recommended is you have everybody have their finger on the chat button at the same time to go ahead and write their answer, but then when they have to put their finger on the submit button, and then he goes, at the count of 3, we're all going to submit our answers all at one time. And so it makes it kind of interactive, kind of fun, and then everybody can see all of the responses right at the same time. I thought that would be also good for board meetings as well, when you have something controversial or tough to pass, that everybody does it all at the same time. But this video right here will teach you a bunch of things on how to use chat, how to enable it and how to disable it during the meetings. Change your background. I just recently learned of something. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Canva, but Canva has become our new best friend, and we use it almost every single day. But Canva has a great option that they've added to their platform, and it's a wide variety of virtual backgrounds that you can choose from or you can make yourself. And for those who don't know what Canva is a graphic design app or online that you can go to. They do have free accounts, but their paid accounts are very, very cheap. I think it's like $10 a month, and very, very worth it. But you can design almost anything, and it's made for the novice designer, which is me. And it makes things look very, very pretty and very, very nice. All right, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time on, actually, I want to go back to Canva. One thing that I have used Zoom for recently is to make videos. And I have interviewed customers of my partners' brands, or I have done, I just recently did a Dylan Gage refinery video that I can show you guys because it's 2 minutes long. And I used all of the audio from Zoom. I just recorded the meeting and then I uploaded it and then put it into my video software and was able to do that. You can also do that on Canva, where you can originate the audio from that. You just record the meeting, not video. So you just get really, really creative, and it's ways that I thought never dreamed in a million years I would ever use a meeting software to record just audio for a video. Okay, here we go. Zoom etiquette. This is just a refresher for everyone, but it's always shocking to me how there is that one person on the meeting that doesn't seem to get that it's the same etiquette we have on Zoom as we have in face-to-face meetings. First things first, if at all possible, use the video option. It's just, when you have a large percentage of people on video, especially in your smaller meetings, and you have one or two on the non-video option, you always, the participants and the host in the room are always going, are they doing work? Are they checking email? What are they doing? And so being able to have that face-to-face interaction with your guest is very, very important. Mute yourself if you're not speaking. I cannot say this enough. How many times have we been in large, 40 plus meetings, and without fail, there's somebody, either it's like the rapper in the theater, somebody taking out the piece of candy and that crinkling noise. It's like, for the love of Pete, please don't do that. And for those who may or may not be familiar with this, and you can share this with whomever, and it won't come from you, it would come from me, but share how to mute and unmute yourself. Everybody here is doing that, so thank you. The host can also has the capability of muting all. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with this, but you just go to these 3 buttons. After you click on participants, you go to these 3 buttons and it will come down and you can mute all. Managing participants in a meeting. This is one of the support videos from Zoom. Zoom has probably, I think there's about 40 or 50 videos that they have. Very, very, it's worth your while to watch them. And they take you, again, step by step on how to do things. Features, how to do a webinar on Zoom, it's there. How to do presentations, it's there. How to do the split screens and everything. But this is pretty much a general overview of managing your participants. And I thought it was a good video to watch. Turning dings off upon entry. I don't know if I'm the only one that drives me absolutely bonkers, but you'll be waiting and you get to the meeting early, and then all you hear for 10 minutes is bing, 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 bing. And it was like, oh, please turn that off. So this is how to do it. It's super, super, super easy. In the right-hand corner, if you're the host, you push the 3 buttons again. And over here, it says place sound upon someone joining or leaving a meeting. You can click that or click it off. I beg you to click it off and not have that bing noise throughout the meeting. Attendees, protocol, join early, at least a couple minutes before. If you haven't used Zoom, make sure you download it. Find a quiet space and avoid talking over other people at the same time as other participants. I mean, that's just manners to begin with. And we've all been in meetings where somebody has over dominated the meeting, one of the attendees, and is over controlling it. You can send a chat feature directly to the host and where nobody else can see it and say, hey, listen, I have a question. Could you please call on me next time? I can't seem to get a word in. That works very, very well. And last but not least, be aware that you're on camera. Now for the host. One nice thing to do is to introduce everybody at the beginning of the video, especially beginning of the Zoom, especially if not everybody knows one another. Same thing you would do if you were in a face-to-face meeting. Ensure that you have a clean, work-appropriate background. We've said that. Your representation of your brand. Make sure that the area is clean. Look into the camera instead of looking at yourself. I've actually had to learn how to turn off my video feature because for the love of me, I cannot stop but looking at myself when I'm talking. And so if I just turn it off, it's not there, so I can't see it. Eliminate distractions and focus on your agenda. I always turn off my email so that I don't get those instant reminders. And I will tell you from experience, of course, not my experience. It was a friend's experience because I would never do something like this. But I did not. I was sharing my screen during a work meeting I did not turn off my email. And an email alert came up and everybody could see it. And it was very personal. And so yeah, I'm rushing very quickly to turn it off. So turn off your email. Be aware of your audio and video settings, of course. And only invite participants who need to be there. I think Zoom initiated quite a few months ago that every meeting has to have a password. And if you're the host, stick around, because if you're the host and you turn the meeting off, guess what? It ends it for everybody. And so if somebody is having a conversation midway through and the host leaves, then it ends. So stick around, and I tell you, some of the best conversations I've had with partners, with the commission, and with others is at the end of a meeting and being able just to catch up. It's worth sticking around and hearing what everybody has to say. This is, again, it's another link, but it's 15 Zoom media interview tips for if you're working with the media and how to interact with them over Zoom. I don't think this is going away. We've been able to do a lot more national interviews during this time because of the use of Zoom. And I think it's something that will stick around. I don't think we will be flying people to New York and flying people to LA as much as we did before to do one-on-one media interviews. And we can get this done here. But you can click on that when you get back. Now I'm going to stop sharing. I say I'm going to stop sharing. Stop share. There we go. And I am going to go into gallery view so I can see everybody. And I want to, everybody go off mute, if you will, because I want this to be just not me talking. God only knows I do that enough. But I want to talk about some of the ways that you guys have used Zoom, some things that you've learned, maybe some things that haven't worked out so well. And then I can share some of the things that I've seen. Anybody? Jeremy, you look like you've done something on Zoom.
Well, we've done a bit. I actually had like town hall meetings with about 100-ish folks. So, and we did breakout sessions within that too. So it was pretty successful.
Great. Have you used Zoomed at all for donor recruitment?
To do what?
Donor recruitment?
Mm-hmm. Not
No.
really.
Okay. What about Andrew? What have you been doing with Zoom?
Mostly meetings. I'm actually going to be on another meeting with Save Our Stages Act soon. But most of it's just been being able to catch up with meetings and all of that we normally would do in person.
Okay. Diana? There you go. Well, how have you used Zoom?
Mostly for meetings. We were planning we weren't going to use Zoom for this, but we were planning a virtual kind of gala. We're backing off of that and moving it to the fall for another, it's like the third time we've moved it, but we're just not hearing good things about doing fundraising on Zoom or any other virtual platform. Not financially, I'm talking about financially. So mostly it's been just limited to meetings. I love the idea of donor recruitment, and I'd love to hear more about that though.
Okay. Okay.
We have a question in chat as well from.
Yeah, I saw that with the video quality. Video quality is really all based on your camera and how you're appearing on video, your camera and your lighting in particular. Now, if you're having issues with video quality of seeing other people, then that could be your computer. If you have a slower computer, my computer at home, it's very difficult to use Zoom because it overheats and then the fan starts going and it's super, super loud. And so I've had to, whenever I have to do a video Zoom at home, I have to use my iPad, which isn't as good because the screen's a lot smaller. But like I said, you get creative.
And I think I may have a variation answer on that, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
This pertains to music in particular, but it may also pertain to someone wanting to show a pre-recorded video that may include music, may or may not. But it's going to have to do with the fact that the Zoom platform is not set to accept wideband data streams for audio and video. And there are very few platforms that are up to that right now. Apparently there are some that are, I think everyone's working on it, but it's probably going to be one of those things where you have to buy the more expensive version of the platform to be able
Zoom,
to do it.
Zoom Pro.
Yeah, but our sound engineer, I asked him this question and he said, none of the platforms are really up to speed yet on this, and it has to do with the wideband data streams that are involved in music and video. And the second issue is microphones process sound differently than our ears do. And so Zoom being more of a meeting platform, and most, Microsoft Teams, et cetera, they are calibrated for just a meeting situation, human voice, that sort of thing. And so microphones, as they pick up sound, it's converted into an electronic signal. And if it's music or something unusual, there's nothing in the algorithm that tells it what that is. So it substitutes a sound that it creates electronically. And that's why you hear some of the weird, rattling or skipping that you'll hear in a Zoom or a team meeting where someone's trying to play music. So there's several technical aspects to why Zoom is still not really great for streaming music or film that includes music.
Okay. That's good info. I'm looking at the chat. Okay, here we go. Anybody else have some ideas? I really appreciated the groups that engaged the children. Kids have been really quick to pick up this technology. And in fact, during the quarantine that we had in March and April, my daughter, we were busy because we specialize in crisis communications. And so I was working 15, 16 hours a day, and she was bored out of her mind. And as an only child with nobody to play with, I had to find very quick ways to get her engaged. And there is a business out there called OutSchool. And it was originally created for homeschoolers. And you pay anywhere from $20 to, I think her most expensive lesson was $40. And it's 1 to 2 hours. Art classes, music classes, theater classes, and she gets to join with 8 other people from all across the US and have conversations and talk one-on-one with the teacher, and it's engaged, because I didn't want her just watching videos. I wanted her to have that engagement. And she picked up so quickly to that and loved it. Absolutely loved it. Same thing with, there is a company called Challenge Island where they do STEM related activities. And people pay, you know, it's $15, $20 for an hour class, and they send you out the list of supplies you need to get before. So the company is not sending you the supplies. And you actually do the art project or the science experiment there with the teacher. And again, it's kids from all over the US. And I thought, you know, this is so interesting that art groups could do something very similar. One organization that it was a music organization, a symphony, who did this out of San Francisco, sold to their donors and to non-donors. Donors got a cheaper price than non-donors, an opportunity to cook with a musician. And so they sent out, it was 8 Zoom opportunities. So 8 families could be on a Zoom with a musician, and the musician makes something from their home country. And they had a great time. It was a 2.5-hour ordeal. It was very simple on the nonprofit because they sent out a shopping list of everything you needed to get. The onus was on the person doing the Zoom. So you had to go out and get all of the supplies. And I think the symphony, you know, made $25,000, $30,000 just by selling this. And there's so many people who love that one-on-one with the artist themselves, because it's the same reason why people wait outside stage doors to meet them. Great opportunity there. Same thing with one other thing I want to mention about Zoom is when you're recording when you're doing meetings, make sure you're recording them, because you never know when you may be able to use something like that or go back and reference something, or if somebody missed the meeting, you're able to give it to them so that they're caught up on it. Always make that known that you're recording it, though, even though it does say recording at the top. Make sure that everybody knows. Any other creative ideas?
Question. You mentioned the first service that you mentioned that your daughter used at the beginning of the pandemic. What was that called? I got Challenge Island, but what was the other one? OutSchool,
OutSchool.
Okay, thank you.
And it's absolutely, they do everything from academics all the way to dance. She took quite a few cheerleading classes on there. We have more darn artwork in our house thanks to OutSchool. I'm like, for the love of God, you cannot paint any more Picasso, okay? I don't know where to put all these things. But it's very, very good. And you might want to tell your artist friends and musicians, and I'm using artists as a whole, whether you play a musical instrument or you're on stage or you paint or the like, is that they're always hiring. And so that's a great way to make some extra money. And I'm telling you, you know, I mean, I was forking out $40 a class and not blinking an eye because it gave me 2 hours of uninterrupted time. And she was in front. She took a weekly yoga class. The sky's the limit. Things that I never dreamed she would do. And now she's just used to logging in and doing class with her virtual teacher.
We're doing some of that externally. When you asked me before, I was thinking of internally how we use Zoom at the Creative Arts Center, because we're a visual arts school and community arts center. So we've done several Zoom events where with in our outreach programming, where we created art kits, got the art kits to the groups that we were working with, like Cafe Momentum, and we worked with a group of people with developmental and intellectual disabilities. And then they did the activity with the teacher online. And then we're also doing some paid programming where on Zoom, and trying to keep it small. I think the key to that is keeping it small so that if you have, you don't have more than 10, 12 people doing it, because you can't give them the individual attention. So a lot of people think you can do a class on Zoom and invite 40 people and have a meaningful art lesson. I think it's got to be limited.
Right. So. But think about, I know at the beginning we did a lot of things for free and we gave away a lot of things, which was great. Really. I mean, we reached so many more people that way. However, at the end of the day, you guys still have to make money. You've got bills to pay. And so think about ways that you can charge, because people will pay. I mean, I'm proof of it. My whole neighborhood, and we used to have, just chats within our network and saying, are there any good things going on? Because we don't care at this point how much it costs. We want to be entertained. We can only talk with our families so much. And I think that is the biggest thing that I'm going to implore, is to think of ways to make money virtually. And Zoom is a great outlet for that, because you can just log in, set up the camera and go, and be engaged with other people. And then number 2, make sure that at the end, you're not bashful and say, hey, listen, the arts are hurting right now. We could sure use you, use your help. And we've added you to our distribution list, and you're going to be getting some stuff from us. And not be shy to ask people, because there's lots, and while the economy is down, there's lots and lots of people who are not experiencing that. So go ahead and ask, because if you don't ask, you don't get. That was always my philosophy with Shakespeare.
Before we run out of time, we should probably see if anyone has more specific questions. And I know someone in the chat asked, which symphony was it that you were talking about?
I will find that out and send it to you.
Okay. So are there specific questions from anyone about anything Joe went over, or experiences the rest of us might have had, or something we can help with? Nancy.
Yeah, I've got a question. So I did a whole series of docent trainings this fall for the Meadows Museum on Zoom. And I've had this issue with a ring light. I wear my contacts because if I do the ring light, it's like, you get these Google eyes. So, and then my husband got this great box light, but can you speak a little bit, or is there a particular light you recommend to people to improve lighting?
I wish you guys could see my office right now, because I have it so jerry-rigged. The key that I have found, and I learned it from that woman that I pointed out specifically in the deck, her videos are so good, the photographer, is I have 3 of my just regular lights behind my screens. So they're up behind, so I'm looking straight at them. If it will give you a headache after a while, because you're looking at the light bulb. But also, don't use soft light. Use the white light. Use natural light. That was her recommendation. And I mean, you can see I'm pretty well lit. And the way my office is configured, I can't move it. It's very difficult because the furniture is too big. And if you look behind me, I've got windows. So I've shut out all the windows. And but the lighting, you want to be looking at the light, not having the light behind you. And however way, you don't even need to buy the ring lights. Just regular table lights will work.
Nancy, I have a tip that's just, my husband's a photographer, and he uses this a lot in portraits with people who wear glasses, and that is to tip your glasses down a little bit, so they're not getting the light directly on them. So I've done that here. And you can see my eyes, and you're not seeing much of the reflection.
And that YouTuber that is on the deck that you guys will get, she has a video specifically to take out the glare of glasses.
Perfect. Thank you.
Loris, did you have your hand up for a question?
I did, but now I can't remember what the question is. Oh, the question is,
I know that.
we offer classes for free, and the attendances come and go, varies. What is the trade-off between free classes and asking for a donation versus charging $5 for a class or $10 or whatever?
I don't have those exact studies, and I'm sure there are studies out there.
Yes.
I know at Shakespeare, when I was with them, we always asked for donation.
Okay.
And then they went back and started charging people. But I would be really interested to see. I bet the Center for Nonprofit has something on a study. I will get that. I promise you, I will get that and get that, because I don't know if it's the same as in person or virtual. I don't know if it would be easier to tell somebody no. I know I did my first experience online with Pat Green, the country artist. Ford, I believe it was Ford, that was his, he was a spokesperson for. And if you signed up, they did all the promotion on Facebook. But if you signed up in advance, you would be sent the code to the concert 15 minutes before. And it was a one use, but it was how they were getting lead generation. They were just trying to get those emails. And it worked out quite nice, because 15 minutes before, I'm sitting there waiting for it because I wanted to see this concert it was done live. And it was fun to be able to see something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was
Thank you so
free,
much.
but they wanted your email.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
I will tell you, it's been real fun listening to colleagues not inside the arts and listening to them. And they have all said, we love that we don't have to go to galas anymore. We have a reason not to go to a gala. And they're like, I will so much write a check just not to have to go. And so it'll be real interesting to see how that translates 5 years from now. And I know with some of the nonprofits that I'm on the board of, non-arts, most of them are health and human sciences. Most of them are funded predominantly by doing events. And it's having to rethink how we get our money. It's not so much by events, it's by straight out donations. But I'm with that. If I don't have to go to another event, I'm okay.
The one thing I heard though was, I think in New York, they did a virtual gala. So yes, it could reach more people, but they made far less money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something else to factor in, I guess.
I've heard just locally here and from some of the larger organizations that have done virtual galas. Some of them have been pretty successful, although they made most of the money in pre-sales, and then some have not. So it's a very mixed bag, and I think it's probably an evolving thing. But I think, Joe, to your point, that a lot of people are just glad not to have to go to another gala. I think that was a trend that was already in the works. So,
well, they're just so expensive. So expensive. It takes up so much staff time, so many volunteers. And if you really look at the attendees, most of them are the same people that come every single year. You're not reaching a new audience.
We stopped doing them for the Salmon Center years ago because it's just such a time suck for the staff, for the reward of, we have a much better track record just going directly to the donor and asking than just, than putting on an event. So.
Well, I'll tell you, we, Heroes for Children was our pro bono account for many, many years. And it's a Texas-wide organization that helps families who have a child battling cancer. And not last year, so not the pandemic year, but the year before, 2019, we came on board and we crafted their end of year campaign. And we incorporated email, video, social media, There was no events. And we were able to raise $125,000 in 30 days, which was really good for this organization. And we used several different tactics to get there. And we're crafting a white paper on that right now. We just won a Pegasus Award from PRSA for our campaign, and we're crafting a white paper, and I would love to come and show you guys next time, you know, further down the line when you have another brown bag, and show you exactly what we did that was so successful, because it could easily be replicated. It wasn't anything that was earth-shattering, but it was the use of so many different tactics all at one time that we were making sure we were hitting them by text, by email, by snail mail, by video, and on social all at the same time. And it worked absolutely brilliantly.
What was that nonprofit, Joe? Heroes
for Children.
Yeah, there can be for in-person galas, there's a high level of risk because there's so much cost involved. I know of a number of case studies here locally of groups that have lost a lot of money, and I know one group went right out of business because of a bad gala. So you know, not something to take on unless you have a very established event already. And
really, if you don't have an established volunteer who is leading the charge and has their name attached to it. I have seen the ebbs and flows, and it all depends on who's chairing the event.
Yeah, it's a crowded space too. So do we have any other questions about Zoom or observations that you want to share? I'm going to share one thing. We've used Zoom twice now for things other than meetings. We did a reception when we launched our first virtual Salmon's Jazz concert for our members. And then we did an awards event for DJAM, giving out the Jazz Legend Awards. And what we found that made it work really well and smoothly was we actually created like a script or a storyboard for it. Because one of the things that happens on Zoom when you have people who, in a situation where you don't have a specific agenda or something, like a reception, is there's these periods where nobody says anything and you have dead air. And so we had people primed ahead of time on the staff to jump in with a question or an observation or something. But we also knew who was going to do what, when, and, you know, and we, in the case of the reception, we wanted to make sure that, you know, we were also parsing out information about other opportunities to view virtual events, fundraise, et cetera. So we worked all that in to the script, and that way we felt like we could cover everything, all the information we needed to communicate. But it was also a much smoother, just a much smoother event because of it. So Joe, I don't know if you have any suggestions or advice there.
So I love that. It's very similar to when you have a live auction. You always have people in the audience primed to start the bidding. So that it doesn't sit there and there's not that lull of nobody bidding on something. Again, it is at the beginning of a Zoom is when some of the awkwardness comes. There are different trivia questions that you can, if you can mute everybody upon entering, so nobody can talk, and you're engaging with them real time, 5 minutes before and then 5 minutes into the meeting, by doing trivia questions, saying, you know, there's a prize, you're going to get X, send them a Grubhub or something. I will come up with, I just recently watched a seminar online about different ways to get audiences engaged prior to a meeting. And there were some really fun ideas in there. That's where the trivia came up, but you can show snippets of other performances that you've done throughout the years. It's a great time to show. If you have a promo reel, to show that, different ideas there. But I will give you my word to attach that to this presentation when we end.
Okay.
Different ideas.
Joe, I know you have a hard stop at 1 o'clock. So I just want to thank you so much. And Joe is going to send me her deck, so I'll send that out to all of you so that you have those links and the information that she sent. But Joe, that was just wonderful, so helpful.
Thank you.
We
I don't
just
know how
appreciate
helpful it was, but
No, it was great.
it was sure fun talking with you guys. I learned some things. So
Well,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
All
we
right, have a good
recorded
one,
it, so
guys.
we'll put it up on the DACHEC website. So see you all.
Okay, bye.
Bye.